Welcome to our special in-depth report. The entire tennis community has essentially ground to a halt today, and for a truly spectacular reason. The official draws for the 2026 BNP Paribas Open at Indian Wells have been released, and tucked inside the brackets of this renowned event is a first-round battle that's causing seismic shifts across the sport. We're about to witness a generational showdown of truly epic magnitude. It is a contest that feels like it was conceived in Hollywood, yet it is about to play out for real before our very own eyes in the Californian desert. The sport's undisputed icon, a genuine trailblazer, the seven-time Grand Slam singles winner, 45-year-old Venus Williams, is scheduled to compete against the skyrocketing new talent of Asian tennis. The newly crowned world number 31, a 20-year-old phenom from the Philippines, Alexandra Eala. In sports media, the phrase "passing the torch" is used excessively often, tossed around without a second thought whenever a rising star competes against a seasoned professional. But let me tell you, what we're about to see here at Indian Wells is much more than a simple changing of the guard. It represents a profound convergence of two completely separate eras in women's tennis, set to clash on one of the most celebrated stages the sport can provide. When this draw became public just hours ago, social media went into a frenzy. Pundits, former professionals, and legions of fans around the globe immediately understood the immense weight of this particular pairing. This is a narrative so compelling, so intricately woven with history feeling and intense competitive spirit, that it has totally eclipsed the rest of the tournament's lineup, which boasts names like Aryna Sabalenka, Iga Świątek, and Coco Gauff. To grasp fully why the whole world is so stunned and enthralled by this one matchup, we have to start by examining the location itself. The BNP Paribas Open, warmly referred to as Tennis Paradise, is largely viewed as the unofficial fifth Grand Slam of the tennis season. The Indian Wells Tennis Garden, situated in the Coachella Valley, contains the second-largest permanent tennis arena on the planet. The severe, awe-inspiring scenery of the Santa Rosa Mountains, coupled with the scorching desert climate, forges a modern-day coliseum that challenges not just a player's physical stamina, but also their mental resilience. It's a compulsory tournament, a central pillar of the hard court swing where only the very best can endure the punishing two-week marathon. And it is in this unforgiving yet magnificent desert haven that the heritage and the future of the Women's Tennis Association Tour are fated to collide. Venus Williams, a name that embodies greatness, force, and fortitude, was given a wildcard spot in this year's main competition. Her presence at Indian Wells is a significant event in its own right. We are talking about a woman who started her professional career in October of 1994. Let that fact register for a second. Venus Williams has been playing at the very top tier of professional tennis for more than 3 decades. She had already claimed numerous Grand Slam championships, occupied the world number 1 spot for weeks, and transformed the women's sport with her extraordinary athleticism and baseline dominance long before her rival in this match was even born. Venus Williams is more than an athlete. She is a cultural figure, a champion for equal pay, and a living, breathing demonstration of pure love for the sport. At 45 years of age, while nearly all of her peers have long since moved on to the broadcast booth or a private life, Venus keeps lacing up her shoes, propelled by a competitive drive that refuses to be extinguished. Every single time she walks onto the court now, it represents a moment for the history books. However, this forthcoming contest is much more than a celebratory lap for a living legend. It is a confrontation with enormous stakes, because on the other side of the net will be a young competitor who is currently performing at the absolute pinnacle of her abilities. Alexandra Eala, who proudly flies the flag for the Philippines, is not merely a competitor in this event. She is showing up to Indian Wells as one of the most formidable and in-form athletes on the entire circuit. Eala has recently reached a career-best ranking of world number 31 after an astonishing performance at the Dubai Tennis Championships. Over the last couple of weeks, we have observed Eala transition from being a gifted prospect into a genuine force to be reckoned with on the tour. She has been defeating top-level competition, capturing major victories, and displaying a degree of strategic sophistication that contradicts her young age of 20. Not long ago, she advanced to the quarterfinals in Dubai, ousting world number 8, Jasmine Paolini, in a massive upset before she was finally stopped by the dominant force Coco Gauff. Eala's ascent has been utterly remarkable, fueled by her tireless dedication to training, which was cultivated at the Rafa Nadal Academy, and her devastating left-handed forehand, along with her superb court coverage. For the Philippines, a nation with a huge population of sports lovers who have long craved a global tennis superstar, Alex is the fulfillment of a dream that has spanned generations. The Filipino community in California is very large, and you can be completely sure that the stadium at Indian Wells will be filled to the brim with supporters waving the Philippine flag, which will produce an atmosphere like a Billie Jean King Cup event. This entire situation introduces a totally different element of tension and thrill to the encounter. In one corner, you have the commanding, ageless presence of Venus Williams, cheered on by the local fans who treat her like American royalty. In the other corner, you have the determined, explosive, and passionately cheered on Alex Eala, who is shouldering the aspirations of her entire country. The juxtaposition is striking. The pressure is unbelievably high. The emotional core of this contest is precisely why it's making headlines worldwide. Yet there is one more vital piece of information that makes this impending showdown at Indian Wells so completely compelling. We should probably clear up the misconception that this is the very first instance of these two facing off on a professional tour. Even though this is their debut singles match against each other, they did in fact play one another just a few weeks back at the dawn of this 2026 season in a doubles competition at the ASB Classic in Auckland, New Zealand. During that meeting, Alex Eala, teaming up with American teenager Liv Hovde, engineered an incredible upset, beating Venus Williams and her partner, the very accomplished Elina Svitolina, in straight sets 7-6, 6-1. That showdown in Auckland gave us a small preview of the generational transition. At the net, Eala's awe was plain to see. Facing a pioneer she'd admired since she was a child on Sharon Court was an unbelievable experience. But the moment the match began, all traces of fear vanished. She revealed the precise brand of cold-blooded competitiveness that is essential for reaching the pinnacle of professional tennis. However, converting a doubles win into a successful singles clash during a mandatory WTA 1000 tournament presents a challenge of a completely different magnitude. A singles match against Venus, who controls the rally's tempo with her powerful first serve and remarkable reach, is another matter entirely. Ella is already familiar with the sensation of sending the ball past Venus, yet to do so, amid a fierce baseline battle in the California desert, will be the definitive examination of her recent entry into the top 31. The entire sporting world is captivated for this very reason. It explains why leading broadcast networks and sports journals have dedicated their lead stories to this particular contest. The significance goes far beyond the mere mechanics of hitting a forehand or a backhand. What we have here is a perfect storyline. A seasoned champion fighting against the twilight of her career, unwilling to concede on anyone's terms but her own. She stands opposite a youthful phenomenon who is swiftly ascending to the summit that the veteran once dominated. This encounter truly embodies all the qualities that make us passionate about sport. It contains the elements of surprise, a rich backstory, pure emotion, and the elegant yet unstoppable passage of time. While we anticipate this monumental clash, it's crucial to understand that no matter the outcome, this meeting is destined for the tennis history books. Global fascination is high not simply due to the players' reputations, but because of the fortunate and almost poetic way the draw has unfolded to make this matchup possible. You can feel the excitement building in the air. Everything is in place, and the Indian Wells hard courts are primed for a confrontation that will be remembered for a very long time. Having established the context and underscored the importance of this momentous face-off, we can now move into a detailed analysis of this incredible pairing. It is necessary to examine the multiple dimensions, the historical background, the tactical subtleties, and the mental contest that will shape this fight between Alexandra Eala and Venus Williams at the BNP Paribas Open. To appreciate the full weight of the events unfolding in the desert, one must first consider the complex, storied, and occasionally turbulent history Venus Williams shares with the Indian Wells tournament. Famously, for many years, the Williams sisters refused to participate in this event after what happened back in 2001. That period marked a profoundly difficult moment in the sport's history, stemming from a contentious situation and an unwelcoming reception from the spectators. For more than a decade, the tournament suffered from a significant emptiness, deprived of its most celebrated American players. Venus's eventual return to Indian Wells in 2016 signified a moment of immense reconciliation and elegance. The crowd greeted her with a warm embrace and rapturous applause, transforming a location of past hurt into a stage for her victorious comeback. Consequently, any match Venus plays at Indian Wells carries a special emotional weight. Her presence there speaks volumes about her capacity for forgiveness, her personal growth, and her unwavering affection for her supporters. Now, at the age of 45, having accepted a wild card for the 2026 main draw, each game she contests here serves as an homage to her incredible career. On court, Venus employs a style centered around powerful, aggressive tennis from the very first shot. While her serve may no longer consistently reach the 120 miles per hour speeds of her peak, it continues to be a potent weapon thanks to its precision, unpredictability, and the advantage of her height. Her forceful flat ground strokes, especially that destructive two-handed backhand down the line, are still capable of dismantling any defensive strategy on the tour. However, the playing environment in the desert at Indian Wells poses a distinct set of problems. The courts are known for having a high-friction, gritty surface. This surface causes the ball to kick up high and lose speed upon bouncing, a characteristic that typically benefits players who use heavy topspin and counterpunchers adept at winning extended rallies. Although the arid desert atmosphere helps the ball travel swiftly through the air, the court itself negates some of that velocity once the ball hits the ground. For a player like Venus who hits the ball flat, this requires her to produce a tremendous amount of her own pace to drive through the abrasive surface, demanding immaculate footwork and preparing for her shots very early. This leads us perfectly into an examination of Alexandra Eala's tactical approach. The 20-year-old from the Philippines seems almost perfectly engineered for these specific playing conditions. She is a product of the contemporary, intensely physical period in women's tennis, having trained for years on Spanish clay and hard courts. Her style of play is built upon generating heavy topspin combined with extraordinary agility and the stamina for grueling baseline exchanges. Being left-handed gives Eala a natural tactical edge, which she leverages with great skill. Her cross-court forehand, played with her left hand, is inherently aimed toward the backhand side of a right-handed opponent. Even though Venus has one of the most celebrated two-handed backhands in the sport's history, Eala's tactic of drawing her wide with a high looping topspin shot will be a key element of her game plan. Eala's ascent to number 31 in the world rankings this week is certainly not a fluke. To appreciate the momentum she carries into this contest, we should examine her recent performance. Only last week at the Dubai Tennis Championships, AWTA 1000 event with a similarly strong field, Eala demonstrated incredible determination. She defeated Sarana Kursi and then engineered a stunning upset against Jasmine Polini. The most impressive aspect of her performance in those matches wasn't simply her ability to make shots, but her capacity to solve problems while under immense pressure. In critical moments when the score was close, Eala rose to the occasion. She increased her level of aggression without sacrificing control and accuracy. The quarterfinal match she lost to Coco Gauff, where she was ultimately overpowered as the contest wore on, taught her a critical lesson about facing the raw strength of a top-5 player. Eala understands her defensive game can prolong points, yet she's mastering the instinct to attack and end rallies quickly, an essential development needed to defeat Venus Williams and crack the top 10. The core of Eala's strategy will be to draw out the points. In contrast, Venus thrives on brief, decisive exchanges of 3 to 4 shots where her overwhelming power determines the result. Eala's aim is to pull Venus into punishing 8, 10, or even 12-shot rallies, compelling the 45-year-old to cover the court from side to side and make extra shots. Eala's footwork is simply explosive. Her agility across the court is so effortless, it enables her to soak up the speed of the ball and send it in another direction. Should Eala leverage the gritty Indian Wells surface to consistently send high-heavy shots deep, she could pin Venus back and systematically break down the legend's aggressive strategy. That said, you can absolutely never underestimate the strategic mind and incredible determination of Venus Williams. For 30 years, Venus has been solving the puzzle of how to defeat every single type of opponent imaginable. She's gone up against the relentless defense of Aranza Sanchez Vicario, the brute force of Lindsay Davenport, the all-court game of Martina Hingis, the absolute reign of her sister Serena, and the contemporary power of Aryna Sabalenka. There is absolutely no tactic or style Alex Eala can bring to the court that Venus hasn't already encountered and overcome. The mental battle in this contest is going to be captivating. For Eala, the hurdle is completely in her head. Imagine walking onto that massive court, glancing over the net, and trying not to see the very same icon you probably had posters of on your bedroom wall. How can you separate the living legend from the player? You have to beat Eala pulled it off during their doubles encounter in Auckland. However, the solitude of a singles match is a whole different animal. Eala needs to step onto that court with the unshakable belief that she has earned her place not as an admirer, but as the world's 31st ranked player, focused entirely on taking down her competitor. During play, she can't afford to treat Venus with awe. Instead, she must bring the relentless intensity that's necessary to triumph at this elite level. Eala's latest press conference remarks indicate that she's in the right headspace. She talked at length about what an honor it is to compete for fans who identify with her story, referencing the incredible Filipino backing she gets worldwide. That network of support is going to be vital. The atmosphere in the Indian Wells Stadium will be absolutely charged. The moment Venus lands a classic passing shot, the American fans will erupt. And when Eala chases down a ball for a spectacular on-the-run forehand, her Filipino supporters will go wild. The stadium will be filled with a blend of pride for a legend and for a rising stars nation. Now let's explore the wider implications for the 2026 WTA Tour. Right now, the sport is defined by a handful of dominant players at the very top, but the rankings from 10 to 50 are incredibly unpredictable and fiercely contested. Competitors like Eala are climbing the ladder by putting together solid performances back-to-back at these huge required tournaments. Because her ranking allowed her to skip the qualifiers here at Indian Wells, Eala arrives well-rested and primed to make a significant impact. There is a massive amount of ranking points and cash on the line here. A strong showing at Indian Wells could vault Eala into the top 25, securing her a seed for the forthcoming French Open. Yet the person she has to get through is the sport's greatest gatekeeper. Venus Williams isn't competing for a better ranking, nor is she motivated by the prize purse. Her bank account is already filled with millions, and her name is forever etched in the annals of the sport. Venus is out here driven solely by her passion for the fight, the feeling of a perfectly hit ball, and the pure excitement of the contest. That makes her a formidable opponent. There's not an ounce of pressure on her. Ironically, the full weight of expectation falls on the 20-year-old Eala. Eala is the one favored to win, she holds the higher rank, and she has the recent momentum. A loss for her could be framed by critics as cracking under the strain of facing an icon. A loss for Venus would just be seen as the inevitable march of time. This situation gives Venus the liberty to hit out aggressively, gamble on her second serve, and compete with a sense of joyous, unencumbered freedom. To break down the technical details of this contest, we need to look closely at the return of serve. Eala has made huge strides with her return game over the last 12 months. On her returns, she employs a short, tight backswing, which lets her manage the powerful first serves from Venus, who depends on that serve to establish her devastating 1-2 combination. It is absolutely crucial for Eala to send her returns deep into the court to neutralize the point from the start. Should Eala's return land short, Venus will instantly move forward and hammer the ball into an undefended part of the court. On the other side of the equation, Eala's own serve is going to be under pressure. Although her lefty slice serve directed wide on the ad side is a major asset, her second serve can be exposed to attack. Venus is known for having one of the most aggressive return stances in tennis. On second serves, she positions herself far inside the baseline, leveraging her incredible wingspan to strike the ball early and put on instant overwhelming pressure. Eala has to keep her first serve percentage high to prevent Venus from unloading on the return and controlling the point right away. Additionally, we can't overlook the physical demands of this match. The Indian Wells tournament has day matches contested in the scorching sun, where temperatures frequently skyrocket, followed by night sessions where the desert atmosphere cools down fast, dramatically, altering the playing conditions and the pace of the court. The timing of this contest is crucial, as the playing conditions will have a significant impact. Should the match take place during the day, the hot, fast court could give a slight edge to Eala's stamina and youth. In contrast, a night session with denser air could play into Venus's strength, allowing her to power through her shots without them going long. Alexandra Eala's physical conditioning has been a central element of her career progression. Her coaching staff has focused relentlessly on developing her leg strength, enabling her to maintain a low center of gravity for defensive slices and to generate explosive power on her topspin shots. That intense physical groundwork will be essential for her because Venus, despite being older, has managed her energy with incredible skill in recent times. She participates in a limited number of tournaments, directing all her focus toward the most important championships. Every time she competes, she is completely dedicated. Her impressive reach alone lets her command the court with fewer movements than her rivals, which conserves stamina while ensuring her defense remains solid. The journey of Alexandra Eala is also the tale of her country's athletic development. The Philippines has long been a dominant force in boxing, basketball, and pool. However, in the globally competitive and expensive world of tennis, a Filipino athlete has seldom reached the very top of the singles discipline. Eala's progression from winning the U.S. Open Junior Singles Championship to capturing several Junior Grand Slam doubles trophies to earning a Southeast Asian Games gold medal and now cementing her place in the WTA Top 40 creates a blueprint for her country's future athletes. She carries the burden of being a pioneer in her field. Each time she secures a major win, thousands of children in Manila, Cebu, and all over the island nation are inspired to pick up a racket. When she walks onto the court to compete against Venus Williams, she's not only playing for herself, she embodies the immense potential of her nation on the world stage. When considering the complexities of this pairing, one must acknowledge just how improbable it is. The time frame for a player born in 2005 to face a competitor who went professional in 1994 is remarkably narrow. It necessitates a young talent's rapid ascent combined with a veteran's magnificent and tenacious refusal to step aside. This is a truly special convergence of tennis destinies. The strategies have been devised and the physical conditioning is complete. The stage is perfectly arranged. Eala will try to capitalize on her age, her heavy topspin, her exceptional speed, and her left-handed shots. Venus will aim to assert her authority through her sheer force, her strategic acumen, and her commanding mastery from the baseline. This is a showdown of differing techniques, a contest between generations, and a duel between two incredibly determined competitors. As we await the moment that these two champions finally appear on the perfect hard courts of the Indian Wells Tennis Garden, we should pause to consider the wider importance of this event. When all is said and done, encounters like this are the very essence of why we follow sports. They rise above the simple numbers of victories and defeats, of ranking positions and cash prizes. This coming battle between Alexandra Eala and Venus Williams is a living, evolving showcase of the sport's history. It is a poignant display of the march of time playing out dramatically on the court. On one end of the court, we see the timeless legacy of Venus Williams. Whatever the final score, her contribution to the game is forever assured. She transformed how women approached the game and altered how athletes campaigned for fairness. And she persists in redefining the very concept of an athlete's career length. Every forehand she connects with is another stroke on an epic canvas 30 years in the making. Facing her is the brilliant and certain future in Alexandra Eala. She is the embodiment of a new generation of tennis professionals. She's a global athlete, meticulously coached, physically superior, and she carries the aspirations of nations emerging on the tennis scene. Eala's climb to world number 31 is only the start of what is sure to be a phenomenal career. And as she sees Venus across the net, she is gazing at the very history she is striving to write her own chapter in. This competition is a tribute to the depth and variety of the WTA Tour. It serves as proof that tennis is a sport for every generation where innate talent and tireless effort can put a 20-year-old on the same court as a 45-year-old icon. For the spectators inside the arena and the millions watching worldwide, this is an experience to be cherished. We are observing the end of one period, but not necessarily a changing of the guard. That's because Venus Williams has demonstrated repeatedly that her competitive spirit is not easily diminished. She's going to make Eala struggle for every last point each game and the entire match. If Eala hopes to claim victory, she must play with the wisdom of a seasoned pro and the courage of a newcomer. She will need to rise above the legend's formidable presence and the pressure of the moment. And should Venus be the one to win it, will mark another extraordinary entry in a career characterized by overcoming obstacles and proving naysayers wrong. Ultimately, the biggest winner from this incredible matchup is the game of tennis itself. We have been given a storyline that doesn't require any manufactured drama. The circumstances themselves, the ages, the rankings, the histories, and the location all combine to create a perfect storm of excitement. As the desert heat bears down on the courts in California and the umpire begins the match, the speculation will stop and the tennis will do the talking. A generational clash is on the horizon, featuring two extraordinary women who share a relentless drive to compete in what promises to be an unforgettable showdown. We appreciate you tuning in for our in-depth breakdown of the match that has captured everyone's attention. The second they arrive on court, we'll have complete live coverage of every point for you. Until that happens, take in the amazing competition still unfolding at the BNP Paribas Open. Are there any other potential showdowns within the Indian Wells draw you'd like me to break down for?